Today we'll be talking about offsets in J-field for the Triumph-LS, and we'll be looking at three commonly used offset techniques. First, we'll be looking at direct offset. Then we'll be looking at distance offset. And then finally, we'll look at resection offset. So a lot of times in the field, you encounter an object that you need to locate that you can't put the GPS receiver directly on, and we use offset techniques to get those. First, we'll look at the direct offset, where we use a direction and a distance from the receiver to our point of interest. So from the collect screen, I'm going to press the button just below start, mark point, and I'm going to switch to offset. Then I select direct from the menu, and the button labeled P1 at the top, I'm going to press that, which will take us back to the collect action screen. Then we'll press start and take the shot as normal. And at the accept, we'll have a pop-up that asks if we want to create a new point. This is talking about the anchor point, the actual location of the rover. I always say yes, that way I've got that point available for other uses. But you're not obligated to always store that point. Next, we need to populate a direction from the receiver to the point of interest. Here we can either manually enter, we could calculate based on recalling 2 points, we could recall from one of the cells using the MR for memory recall, but today I'm going to use set by compass. Set by compass brings up the forward-facing camera view with a crosshair. So you align the crosshair over your object, and then you press the hardware checkbox button on the right side of the receiver. You'll notice that the compass azimuth on the top of the screen is constantly showing you the current azimuth as measured by the compass, and then when you press the check mark, it shows the captured azimuth. If you don't like where you've captured it, you can always press the check mark again, and it takes a new captured azimuth, and then press the plus key or apply in the bottom right corner of the screen, and you see your captured azimuth appear on the screen, and then press OK. Now we see that captured azimuth, and now we'll enter a distance. We want to watch and make sure that we see delta H if we're interested in the height, and we can put in the difference in height from the receiver to the object. We can also press the P2 and change the description, and once we're satisfied with our P2, we press create. So now we can see our point. L059 was our anchor point, the point where the rover was, and then L060 is the light pole. Now let's take a look at distance. So we'll press the point button again and select by offset and click OK. Here we'll select DD for distance. Now instead of taking one shot, we'll take two. So I press P1 and I take a shot as normal. And at the accept, a pop-up appears asking if we want to store the new point, which again, I always say yes. And we see that coordinate populated in. I'm going to go ahead and type in the distance from that point to the target object. After moving over to my second point, I'll press P2, then press start and collect another shot. At the accept, I'll press yes and enter the distance from the second point. So now we have enough for a solution. We can press the orange button or orange box with the coordinates to change the description. We can also select the graphic in the top left of the screen, which shows us the arrangement of our 2 points and our calculated point. In this case, the first solution was the wrong direction, so we press back, use the green arrow button at the bottom right of the screen, press the graphic icon, and we see that the calculation is on the proper side. So I'll press back and create, and then OK. So now we've stored the point with the distance intersection. Finally, we'll take a look at the resection. Here we collect 3 points. First, I'll press P1 and press Start. And at the accept prompt, press Yes. For P2, I'll tap that to go back to the collect screen and collect another point. For each of these P1, P2, and in the case of the resection, P3, if we already had a point that we wanted to recall, we could simply press and hold that button, and then the keyboard would appear and allow us to recall a specific point name or point number, as opposed to taking a shot. Since I don't have points to work from, I want to go ahead and actually locate these 3 points by survey, but we could recall them. So finally, we'll come down and we'll take a P3 shot, press Start, and accept, and yes. So now we have all 3 of these points. A better procedure would have been to enter these distances as individually as each point was collected. In this case, I'm entering the distances after I've collected the 3 points, which is okay because I remember each one of them, but it could easily get lost if you tried to do that. So here we see the graphic of the 3 points and the calculated point there in the center. We can press that P4 orange box and be able to change the description if we want. And now I'm going to hit Create or the plus button on the right side of the hardware, and then OK. One of the things I appreciate about resection is that you're not concerned with the direction like you are with the distance intersection, and you also have these residuals on the right side that give you an indication of how the 3 shots along with your 3 entered distances compare with one another. It gives you a check on how you're doing that. I know a lot of times on hot days or cold days, paying attention to all the aspects of the offset, making sure that it's in the proper direction and all of that, especially when you're trying to be productive, can get kind of tedious. So 3 points, even though you're collecting that extra 3rd shot and taking the time to do that, sometimes the convenience of having that additional check and not having to worry about am I on the right side or left side of the baseline is really nice. I use this particular offset a lot when I'm locating oil wells and gas wells here in my part of the country, but it's also useful for all kinds of different offsets. But you've got options. We've talked about 3 different offset techniques, and there are others that are available that work similarly and give you a lot of flexibility in the field to collect points that you just otherwise can't collect directly by the system. With the internal compass of the LS, the direct offset is a lot of fun, especially for points that you're not particularly concerned with. Let's take a look real quick at the comparison between these 3 shots that we've collected with these 3 different techniques.